Taking a look at the following two clips. Now both are from the DJI FPV drone going at more or less the exact same speed, but one looks like it's moving faster than the other. Even if we pause it, you can see that there is definitely one clip moving a lot faster than the other. The reason one looks like it's moving faster is because of motion blur. Motion blur tells our brains that things are moving fast, and the closer you get to that 1/50 shutter speed, then the closer you get to that insane motion blur. It's that, hate to use the phrase, but it's what it is, it's that cinematic motion blur. But you can't get to that 1/50 shutter speed in most conditions because everything will be too bright and blown out, so you're not going to be able to see anything. So that's where these ND filters come in. Stick around though, because is it really that easy to get some high-speed motion blur from something like this? These are the Freewell ND filters for the DJI FPV drone, and think of these like sunglasses for your drone. They allow you to reduce the amount of light that's coming into the actual camera, so you can lower the shutter speed to that 1/50 or as close as you can get to it. Editor Vic here from the future. One thing to keep in mind here with the DJI FPV drone is that you will not see an option for 1/50 if you're in 4K 60. The maximum you're going to get in 4K 60 is 1/60. So if you want to get that 1/50 cinematic motion blur, then you got to drop the camera down to 4K 50. Not much of a difference, but if you want that 1/50, that's what you need to do. Right, back to the video. So for full disclosure, my friends at Freewell sent me these. They just reached out and said, Vic, you want these ND filters for your brand new FPV drone? I'm like, yeah, sure, absolutely, let's try them out. What we've got here is ND4, 8, ND16, and ND32. So higher the number, the more light that you can kind of reduce coming in. So like ND32 is like 5 stops of light. So on a really bright day, you'd use ND32. Why am I shaking? And that's probably the only time to use it, because some of this footage here, this was shot in evening light, and we've got different light intensity, so it's not as bright. And as you can see, reducing that amount of light is way too much, and we got a lot of noise in the shadows at ND32. So ND16 or even ND8 in evening light would be more suitable. But can these ND filters work in auto mode, or do you really have to go digging into the DJI FPV drone manual settings, which are easy enough to get to, but they're still a pain when you're doing it through the goggles? So here's the thing. These clips were all shot in auto mode, and the results are pretty good. But obviously, look, the best results being in manual mode. However, it just goes to show that these filters go a long way, even in auto mode, to get you up to speed and to reduce the shutter speed. That's really bad puns. But how do they go on though? See, these ND filters are not magnetic like a lot of ND filters, and simply they just fit over the gimbal itself. And this kind of made me nervous. Will they stay on? And yes, they do stay on, even when I had a little crash. Now, they do fit on tightly though, and you have to be careful not to kind of jam them on too roughly. It's very much a case of pinch gripping the actual gimbal itself and pushing them on firmly but carefully. And put them on before you turn the drone on, because while I've had no issues with the gimbal calibrating, you do get issues if you want to swap them out. So you got to turn the drone off, then swap out the filters. Otherwise, your pulling and pushing is going to kind of overload the gimbal and you're going to get an error. So just turn it off. The Freewell DJI FPV Drone ND filters, there's a mouthful, are very lightweight, and from what I've seen, they're using decent quality glass because there is zero degradation on the actual final footage that you're going to get out of the DJI FPV drone. Besides making things look a lot faster, they'll really help you get the cinematic look from your FPV footage, and something that will also help you get that amazing cinematic look is this video right here.